Hello everybody, my name is Rai-na, and this is my very first video for YouTube. It's a little exciting to do this and a little nerve-wracking too, so you'll have to forgive any missteps that I make on my first video. But I've learned intention is everything. Why am I doing this? The Spirit 5 that walk with me have advised me. They think it's a good idea. Oh, let's be frank, they've been pushing. They like the idea of me reaching out through media. They feel it's time. How can I help? How can I help you? I learned that intention is everything. So I was thinking about why I'm actually doing this. I think if I can help you find your own spiritual center and learn how to access your spirit for the betterment and the benefit in life, this is key. Having spirit in your life and having that connection does make life better. And for myself, I've learned I want to remember every moment. I want to be aware of every moment that life gives us, the good and the bad. The good because it gives us light. The good because it opens us up to other good. And the bad because it teaches. We're not supposed to ignore the bad or let it go to a certain point. Because every bad can be a life lesson. It's the grit in our lives that polish us to become better people, to become better souls. And isn't that the whole point? I hope that we learn, all of us, to live life better, to live life more completely. We know that's a theme right through the Bible, especially the New Testament. But my awareness of spirituality has grown so much. I've always said, like, my feet are still in the church, but the church is here, and I'm out here. My feet still fit. But the rest of me, my understanding of spirituality, my understanding of God and the great I am, has grown so much that it just doesn't fit into the walls of any specific religion or church anymore. Am I respectful of them? Oh yes. And I always will be. But I asked that I be respected in my own journey and in my own spiritual growth. And I will respect yours, no matter where you come from, no matter what aspects of religion or lack thereof, or your own spiritual journey. I will respect and honor what you are going through. And I ask for respect and honor in return. There have been times in my life where Spirit has walked that close to me and I didn't know it. I think children are naturally open to this. I think as kids we're naturally gifted to see and hear perhaps what other people do not. But isn't it often the case, or it does happen where you're told, oh no, you're just making that up. Oh, it's just your imagination, you know, like there are no other things going on. And you tend to believe the adults in your life because you look up to them. What I found out though is sometimes I scared them. I think they didn't know where all this was coming from, and it was a lot easier to shut me down than to admit that maybe there was something to it. Hey, that's probably part of my generation anyway, right? the parents we had coming through World War II and living in the 50s and 60s, they had a whole different view of religion. I have an Eastern Orthodox background. Boy, did I love going to church. It was a community. I loved it. I loved the incense and all the ritual that went into it. One friend described a service like that as your love of God is wrapped up in this beautiful gift of song and music and prayers and incense. And that's a really cool way of thinking of it. My childhood church will always have a special place in my heart. It's tied in with some of the best memories of growing up as a kid. And that sense of community was strong. But when you move away from something like that, eventually, whether it's because you've literally moved, like I did, or whether it's because your interest and your focus changes, that's okay. There are different ways to grow into your spirituality, and sometimes that means leaving it for a bit and just being grounded here on the earth, just figuring out what is going on in your life at that moment. You need to be grounded on the earth plane, and you're dealing with things. And eventually, something may trigger it and start inexorably pulling you back onto the path. I think that's what happened with me. This little kid who lived across the street from St. Luke's Church. And I thought it was truly God living in there, because that's what I thought all churches were like. I had a fight with a little girl on the street. We might have been about 6 or 7. We were really mad at each other, like little kids can do. We can be really mad. And I went up to that church and I knelt on those outside steps and I prayed to God, please forgive Linda. She didn't mean what she said to me, and I don't want you to be mad at her. And about half an hour later, Linda comes over. And she had gone to the church too and knelt on the steps. And she said a prayer to God too. So I said to her, what did you pray? She said, I told God how mad I was at you and that he should do something about it. And I went, oh. And she said, what did you pray? And I said, oh, I asked God to not be mad at you and to take care of you. And the look on her face, and she went, oh. And then next thing I know, she darts over to the church. And she's kneeling down on the steps again, and she's praying. And I know that she's saying sorry and taking it back. And I thought, how did we do that at 6 years old, at 7 years old, to have this innate sense of spiritual connection? I thought it was kind of cool. But I didn't think of that story for years. A lot of my memories, when I try to piece together when I would feel God or how I came to this understanding, there are these memories, and I believe I've collected them like pearls on a necklace, but a God necklace, a spiritual necklace. And I took every memory, and I remember at one point I had to put them all together on this necklace so I could remember and see the connection through each pearl of memory. It was an awareness that I've had my whole life. And I think you can probably do that too. And it's almost outside the realm of the adults. This is something, if you go back in your childhood, you look for yourself. And you may see that incredible connection through all these memories. I hope you take some time to do so and see how far back you really have connected to spirit. My friend Sandra, my mentor, often taught that we are all spiritual beings within a physical body. Where were we before we came here? Children, babies. You know when babies are looking at something that you can't see and they're smiling away? I think they're still seeing and hearing the spiritual side. I love watching them do that. It connects me too. The biggest gift, I think, that's not true. One of the best things we can do for children is believe them when they say, oh, I saw this. I do this. Good. But don't shut them down, because then it'll take longer for them to understand their spiritual connection. And wouldn't it be fantastic if we raised our children to be aware of their spirituality right from the get-go, and to honor and respect it within them? Because doing so increases your own honor and respect for your own self, your own soul, and your own spiritual connection. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting with me. And I'll see you again next week. Blessings to you all.